Hey everybody, welcome back to the Sixer Sense podcast. I'm your host Luke with Chris, and no Michael here today, but that's okay. We have the beginning of Summer League, and that's pretty much going to be the major theme of this episode. So let's get into it, Chris.
Yeah, Lucas, we are recording Sunday morning. Saturday night at 9 p.m. Eastern Time, the Sixers played their first Summer League game of the summer against the Utah Jazz in Utah. This was a very jazz skewing crowd, I would say.
I would certainly say so as well.
93-89 Utah was the final score. The Jazz basically ran out like 12 NBA players. Utah's starting lineup: Isaiah Collier, Bryce Sensabaugh, Kyle Filipowski, Ace Bailey, and Cody Williams. 4 of those guys have at least 1 year of experience in the league. The other guy was their top 5 pick. They also had Walter Clayton coming off the bench. They had 4-year NBA vet Jaden Springer, our favorite player.
Your favorite player.
Coming off the bench. 2 points in 13 minutes on 5 shots.
Springer Island, man. I bet you feel good about that investment.
I do feel good, honestly. I'm supporting it. I'm writing.
Okay.
Writing until the end, Lucas.
Okay.
But I think the big storyline of the night was VJ Edgecombe, who pretty much stole the show. Looked like pretty definitively the best player on the floor in a game with, again, like several NBA players. 28 points, 10 rebounds. 13 of 27 from the field, 4 assists, 1 steal, 2 blocks, 2 turnovers. Was a team high plus 10 in 29 minutes, Lucas. We can just go ahead and skip to Ace Bailey right now. He had 8 points, 7 rebounds on 3 of 13 shooting and was minus 12. He was the only Jazz player with a negative plus minus. Didn't have the best game. Obviously, we shouldn't write any definitive conclusions based on a single Summer League game, especially not the first one.
But Daryl Morey must be feeling pretty good about himself.
Daryl Morey and I think most Sixer fans are feeling pretty darn good about how things went last night. What were your takeaways from Edgecombe's performance?
Well, I think it's fair to say that it looks like Edgecombe's a 1% athlete. Like, in terms of athletic skills, there are not very many players in the NBA that are nearly as athletic as he is. It showed just because of his ability to attack the rim. He had at least the coast-to-coast, dunks, plenty more finishing around the rim. Rebounds, 10 rebounds for a guard. Not normal. So it's, obviously he still has some things to work on. The playmaking has a lot to be desired. Obviously not much of a mid-range. And, not really much of a deep threat. And we kind of all knew that, right? And, I was a part of a group chat of Sixers fans, and they're like, "Oh yeah, it's not even Victor Oladipo-esque, it's Anthony Edwards." Let me just pause the brakes there. He is a 1% athlete. I do hope that maybe he can evolve, develop into one of those players. Either one of them would be honestly a win for the Sixers. Still a lot to go here. Obviously, the Sixers fed him. There were times that he did. The offense did not go through him. But that's okay. He still looked pretty good overall. He played hard. He played both sides of the ball, and he had effort, and that's really all that you can ask of a rookie, right?
Yeah, clearly the Sixers made a point to run the offense through him quite a bit. That is not going to be his role in the regular season.
Of course not.
This is the time to experiment with that sort of stuff. I frankly thought it was pretty encouraging how well he got to his spots and got downhill and created advantages. He hit a few mid-range pull-ups, which was not a big part of his game at Baylor. The shot looked fine. He took 7 threes. I know he only made 1, but I was pretty encouraged.
The form is not the issue.
Yeah, he has touch. I think he has touch. I don't think that's he has some things to clean up as a finisher, but I'm pretty encouraged overall by the scoring stuff. Wasn't super efficient, didn't draw a lot of fouls, but I think that's something that will come in time as, guys who just are that strong and that explosive.
He's going to learn from Tyrese Maxey and Joel Embiid how to draw fouls.
Yeah, it's always tough for rookies to get the calls anyways, even in Summer League. So, I that'll come in time. I think the efficiency will be better once he's playing next to 4 stars, basically.
And 13 for 27, while, only getting 28 points is not great. If you take away the missed 7, the 3-point shots, he won 12 of 20 from the floor, which is pretty darn good.
Yeah, like I thought this was like a genuinely pretty remarkable performance.
Yeah,
Summer League again does not really mean much at all in the grand scheme of things, but he was the best player on the floor by a good margin with several NBA players again. So I'm very encouraged by what we saw from VJ.
yeah,
Another guy worth talking about was Adimbona, who had 16
yeah.
points, 8
He was a
rebounds,
man amongst boys.
8-11 from the field, 1 block, 1 steal in 28 minutes. He had a
I
few of the
think
most like
yeah.
Shaq-esque dunks I've seen in a while.
He looked like he added some weight. He
Yeah,
added some muscle this
I,
offseason.
I
Look,
think so.
he's a man amongst boys. Honestly, I would not play him in the Vegas. I would just play him in the Utah, and that's it. Like I would not play him in the Vegas. Give some other guys some burn.
Yeah,
Look, he's a
look,
man amongst boys. That he is too
8 fouls
qualified to be
though,
playing.
worth noting.
Fair enough. Fair enough. And look, like he's going to play more aggressive because he has more fouls to give. Obviously,
Yeah,
look, he's overly qualified, and that's what happens with second year players that get a lot of playing time in year one. They're overly qualified. We saw that with on the opposite end with Filipowski. So it happens, and that's okay.
yeah, I agree. I mean, I hope Andre Drummond wasn't watching this game. He probably didn't have
I
a very good time.
You know what? I think Drummond has gotten to the point in his career where he's okay if younger guys outshine him now. I think he's okay
Yeah,
with being that type of veteran.
you're probably right. Um, another notable performance before
One
we
of
get
your
into
favorite guys. One of your favorite guys. I
one
know
of my
you're.
favorite guys who went undrafted last year, Judah Mintz out of Syracuse. This is again his second year, but 11 points on 3 shot attempts. Got to the line a lot, 7 of 8 at the free throw line, 4 assists, 1 turnover. Is pretty much the only guy other than sometimes Edgecombe who could like consistently create his own looks,
I
which was
mean, I
helpful.
thought Hushafino wasn't terrible at times
I thought
either.
he was pretty terrible in the first half. He
In
settled
the
down a
first
bit.
half, in the second half, he settled down and he was looking
Yeah,
pretty good.
he had 8 assists and like 6 points or whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but I thought Mintz was pretty clearly like better than Hood-Schifino is like a notable takeaway for me. Obviously, Hood-Schifino got a roster spot last year when everything was just going to crap. But
Mm-hmm.
Judah Mintz not on the roster right now. Probably going to be back with Delaware, but could be a guy who sneaks into a 2-way situation down the road if someone gets promoted.
There's one more open spot, and I
No,
do
there's
want to
not.
note that they have already given. What do you mean?
There's not. It's Alex Reese, Hunter
Oh,
Salas.
Alex Reese kept his two-way spot. Okay, my bad.
Yeah, we'll get to that. But
Okay.
second round pick, Shania Broom, 13 points, 5 of 13 from the field, hit 2 of 4 from 3, 5 rebounds, a steal and a block, no assists to 3 turnovers in 24 minutes. Not like the greatest Broom performance of all time, obviously, but
But not bad.
I came away like feeling really good about how he was playing.
Mm-hmm.
Again, like this is a guy who just knows how to play the game of basketball. We're
Mm-hmm.
talking about one of the best players in the country for the last couple of years at Auburn.
Mm-hmm.
Just knows
I
where to be.
yeah.
Physical, really smart defender. Like I feel pretty good about him. How about you?
Yeah, I saw some good, and there was one thing that alarmed me a little bit. Look, the IQ, he's one of the smartest players out there. He's obviously one of the older players out there too. But IQ wise, hitting his shots, knowing where to be defensively, offensively, all that stuff is correct. However, and we talked about this a little bit, athleticism. It showed in this game. Got out jumped for a couple rebounds, did not box out. If you're not athletic, then you need to be able to box out. He wasn't doing that in this game. Granted, it is summer league, so maybe that's a concern, maybe that's not. And just getting I remember at least 2 post ups. Smaller guards were able to poke the ball away. Yet again, that is just better. You got to be better at sealing your man. That's not a end all be all. He's not going to be posting up very often for the Sixers, so that's not the bad thing here. I think he can play the 4 though. I mean, there are encouraging signs that I think he's better as an NBA 4 than a 5 at this stage, just because of the lack of the ability to rebound at a high level. But anyway, that's my thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, look, Broom was one of the best rebounders in college basketball. I'm not worried about him as a rebounder. I think all the fundamentals are there. I'm not worried about that. Scoring wise, I mean, definitely that was like there were a few plays where it was pretty noticeable that he just couldn't get the lift around some of the bigger guys in the paint, which is going to be a problem. Again, he did fall to the second round. I had him pegged as like a late first round guy. He was never like a perfect world beating prospect, but I do, again, this is a guy who's probably going to get like
a lot
10
of
to
burn.
15 minutes off the bench at best this season, as a 4-5.
I think he starts out in Delaware.
I don't know. I think he's like too far along for that. I think Janai Broom would be probably too good for the G League if I had to guess.
Luckily, all he's missing is some calf muscle. So if he can just improve his calf raises, I think I would feel much better about him. That's my thing.
I think he could earn minutes pretty quickly. Is still my takeaway from this. I think he's a guy that Nick Nurse is going to like a lot.
Yeah.
Again, Andre
Drummond. So do you see him more as a 4 or 5?
I think he's going to do a bit of both. I think he's better than Andre Drummond at this point.
I think Dembana is solidifying himself as the 5. I agree,
but as like the third string, if
Center possibly.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if he'll start the season over Drummond on the depth chart, but I think he's going to get there quickly.
Okay.
Couple quick notes on Utah, Lucas. 19 points, 5 of 8 from 3 for Bryce Sensabaugh, who is definitely way too good to be playing in Summer League. 22 points, 6 rebounds for Kyle Filipowski, another guy I doubt is going to be playing in Summer League the whole time. And then 7 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists for Isaiah Collier, who I would say looked a lot better than that stat line. Had some
he's an interesting
awesome
prospect.
He's so good. I'm so all in.
I think he's a pass. He kind of reminds me of Rajon Rondo. Like he's not gonna fill up the stat sheet with scoring, but he's gonna do pretty much everything else.
Yeah, well, Rajon Rondo was a good player, I would say.
Yeah.
I mean, I think he might be like the starting point guard.
Well, I mean, he was at the end of last year. I mean,
I think he's going to get a lot of minutes this year. I think he's going to be the best guard on that team this season. So, my number 2 prospect last year, I'm sticking by it. I'm confident.
Yeah, fair enough.
All right, let's talk about a new signing, Lucas.
I'm happy about this one.
I knew you would be. Philadelphia has signed former Blazers forward Jabari Walker to a 2-way contract. Played 60 games last season, Lucas, averaging 5.2 points, 3.5 rebounds, and 0.6 assists on 51.5% shooting, 38.9% from deep in 12.5 minutes. This guy is a really, really good rebounder. I would say I saw like an inordinate amount of reactions on Twitter of people not only in Philly, but just like around the NBA, in Portland, everywhere, being like, how is Jabari Walker just signing a 2-way contract? Like, this guy can play. The league needs to expand if Jabari Walker is getting a 2-way contract.
I mean, it sounds like it will, but
I mean, it seems like this guy, I think he can play. He's a good player. I'm really excited about this signing. I don't want to get too over the moon about a 2-way guy, but I haven't seen that kind of reaction for like a random 2-way signing, maybe ever. So what were your thoughts on the Jabari Walker signing?
So the reason why he never got much burn with the Blazers is because of their 3-point shot. Until this past season, he was a below average 3-point shooter. That being said, 6'9". I think not this past season, but the season before, he averaged 8 and 7. That is legitimately what the Sixers need, is a 6'9" guy who can rebound, can defend. And if the 3-point shot that we saw from last season translates to next year, then this is another steal of a free agency signing for Morey. I mean, Morey tends to find diamonds in the rough, and with 2-way contracts. We've seen it before. We saw it with Ricky Council. This feels like another, and like, I get why Portland didn't get it, because like they already have, like they could not afford to give him playing time last year, just because, I mean, I know Jeremy Grant was injured, but still the emergence of Denny Advia, you had Kamara coming into his own too. So they have some pretty good depth at the forward spot. The Sixers don't. We don't. I mean, we have Paul George, who may or may not be washed, yet to be determined, right? I'm trying to be nice here, Chris. I'm trying to be nice. You have Justin Edwards, who's still playing on the summer league and had a mixed bag this last night. We didn't even talk about him really.
Yeah, he was fine.
Yeah, he was okay. Just you would hope that he would dominate. He didn't dominate, but that's okay. He's more of a role player anyway. You have Ricky Council, who's a tweener at the forward position, more of a guard than a forward, and then like Trenton Walford, who was only getting, has never really been like a big rotation guy. Like, am I missing any other Janiah Broom, who may or may not be a center, right? So, like, look, adding this guy, I fully suspect that he will get some playing time and possibly get a standard NBA contract at some point this season. That is my hope for him. For the Sixers, I like I said, as long as he's hitting his threes and defending, he will get his shot.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, this is, again, like you said, assuming the threes keep falling at a reasonable clip, this is pretty much exactly what you want from a role guy in Philly at this point. I mean, like, I know Trenton Watford got like a real contract, but it feels like Walker has a more useful skill set for what Philly actually needs right now.
Yeah, look, Walford got signed because he's besties with Tyrese Maxey.
Yeah, I like Watford a lot. He's a cool player,
but he's not a great rebounder. He's not a great 3-point shooter.
I feel like Walker might be better, so it'll be interesting to see how that shakes out. I know Nick Nurse, they keep saying they're gonna like really focus on playing the young guys this year.
I hope they do.
Wouldn't shock me if Walker's getting some early minutes this season as well. I know he's saying that about everyone, but
he's not that old.
No, yeah, I mean he's a good player. I think that was a really nice signing.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said earlier, Walker, Hunter Salas, and Alex Reese are the 3 two-way guys going into this season. So the roster is more or less.
Salas had some moments in the game last night.
Who?
Salas.
He wasn't in the game last night.
I thought he was playing in the game. Who was I looking at?
That was Hood-Schifino.
Oh, okay, my bad.
Yeah,
I could have sworn. Was he out? Was he
Salas
injured?
had an ankle injury,
so
okay. He's day to day.
Okay.
But yeah, overall, I mean, I'm pretty excited about that two-way group. I mean, Alex Reese is what it is. He had some moments last year.
He's a good shooter with size, but he can't rebound and he's not athletic.
That's the Morey special. So, all right, you ready to talk about Quentin Grimes, Lucas?
I am, but before we go to that, we talked about the center that could play make for the Sixers on the Exhibit 10 last year. I figured out who that was. It was Max Fielder.
Yeah.
But they traded the Blue Coats traded him to the Texan Legends during the season, so he's not even with us anymore.
It's heartbreaking.
I know.
Harrison pulls another one. All right,
another one.
Let's talk about Quentin Grimes. Still not a Sixer officially, Lucas.
Mm-hmm.
There has been, quote, little to no movement, according to Kelly Iko and Tony Jones of The Athletic, on a deal for Quentin Grimes. With cap space pretty much dried up around the league, it seems like he's out of leverage, and like this is just going to drag out for a while as he tries to manufacture whatever leverage he can. Do you think there is any room for like a swerve here where Grimes leaves, Lucas, or are we just kind of just waiting for him to accept reality at this point?
Look, out of left field here is that he accepts that qualifying offer, right? And just takes the 7 point whatever million and then becomes an unrestricted free agent next year. I don't see that happening. I think, look, he's not the only restricted free agent that's dealing with this. You got Jonathan Kuminga, Cam Thomas. Who else am I missing here? There are other restricted free agents Josh Giddey, who are all in a stalemate because there's no money in the market. And unless there's a big trade, like, say, I don't know, Giannis Antetokounmpo going somewhere and possibly freeing up some cap space, maybe not, probably not. This could very well go into August and even September. Sixers fan, get your popcorn, strap in. This is going to be a while. I don't think... And not just for Sixers fan, anybody whose team has a high-profile restricted free agent, this is going to take a while. I just don't. He has no leverage at this point. The Sixers might be able to get him for the full mid-level exception level type of contract at this point.
Yeah, it will be interesting to see if he is willing to take like a discount. Like the thing about the qualifying offer is there's a lot of cap space next summer that is
Hmm.
projected to be open, so there should be more of a market.
But
But he's also in a
you're
very
betting on
crowded.
yourself.
He's in a very crowded backcourt. He
Hmm.
is. We just saw VJ Edgecombe drop 28 in summer league, which like maybe means nothing. But number 3 pick coming in, you have Jared McCain, who would have won Rookie of the Year last year if he was healthy. You have Tyrese Maxey. That backcourt is getting a little jammed. You have Paul George and all the guys on the wing, and like Grimes' career has been pretty up and down. I'm a pretty firm believer in him after last season. I think a lot of it has just been situational, but there's a world in which ends up as like the fourth guard on this team,
Yeah.
like getting bench minutes, and then maybe he doesn't get the same deal he would get this summer. So it'll be interesting. I do think the qualifying offer is like not an impossibility. It would be if he comes in and does what he did last year this season with better talent around him and they win a lot of games, then he's going to get like a bag and it'll
Oh
work
yeah,
out.
yeah. He get
So
north of 25 mil like he wants. Yeah, for
yeah,
sure.
so I mean it's a double edged sword. It could go either way, but
Hmm.
yeah, I agree that this is probably going to take a while. Which brings me to my next question though, Lucas. Which assuming Grimes does resign, how do we feel like the Sixers starting lineup is going to shape up? ESPN projected that it would be Tyrese, Quentin Grimes, VJ Edgecombe, Paul George, and Joel Embiid. Um, are you feeling good about Jared McCain as the sixth man? Do you think that they bump Edgecombe for one of the forwards like Justin Edwards or Kelly Oubre? How are you kind of feeling about where the starting lineup sits right now?
Well, let me make myself clear. I do not like Paul George at the 4, and I don't think he likes himself at the 4. But it doesn't seem like he has much of a choice at this point, right? So let's keep that in mind, right? Um, Assuming that Paul George and Joel are the 4-5 and Maxey's the 1, quote unquote 1, because he's not really a 1; he's a combo. That really leaves your 2-3 spots, right? And you got 4 or 5 guys competing for that, right? You have Grimes, Edgecombe, Kane, Kelly, and you can even throw Edwards in there, right? And really, it's a cocktail of what do you want your starting 5 to be. If you want more size, then Kelly and or Justin would be the better option. Probably Justin, just because he's a better defender than Kelly, right? If you want more scoring and perimeter defense, then probably Grimes is your best bet. But if you want to like develop your number 1 pick into that guy, where he could be like a Victor Oladipo / like a Anthony Edwards, I dare to say, type player, then you want to start him as soon as possible, right? And if you want to go, if Nick Nurse wants to relive his Toronto days, you could go McCain at the 2 and do, Fred VanVleet, Kyle Lowry reincarnation there. So it's really like, what do you want? Because honestly, there's not one player. I mean, you would say that, Justin Edwards is the worst player of that group, right? But pretty much you could argue that all the rest of those players are pretty darn similar, right? Maybe Kelly's 4th place, right? It really just like you probably want more defense around those guys, right? So like my starting 5 would probably be, if you want defense first, which seems to be the formula for success, Maxey, Grimes, or Edgecombe, doesn't really matter. I'm going to say Edgecombe just because he's the top prospect, right? So Maxey, Edgecombe. Actually, no, you don't know if he's a shooter. We're going to put Grimes in. We're going to start off Grimes with the season, right? So Tyrese, Grimes, Edwards, because Edwards can guard some forwards, Paul George, Joel. I think that's your starting 5.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think power forward is kind of like a fake position. Like there is
Is
value in two big.
Pascal Siakam a fake power forward? Is Chet
No,
Holmgren a fake
he's a
power
wing. He's a
forward?
big wing. There are forwards and there are like power forwards and there are two big lineups that work. But I think you can also get away with a really good defensive center like Joel if he's healthy, and three really solid defensive wings,
If
which like
he's
George,
healthy.
Edgecombe, and Grimes are all pretty locked in on the defensive end. So you're going to get stops on the perimeter. You're going to keep dribble penetration to a relative low. I think you can get away with that. Obviously, the rebounding concern will just forever be a problem. But I mean, Edgecombe and Paul George are not bad rebounders for their positions. Like, it is what it is. We're not going to be a good rebounding team, whoever starts at the 4.
What if
But
Jabari Walker starts at
unless it's
4?
like Jabari Walker or Janai Broom, and then maybe we can talk. But so I can kind of get behind it being Joel, Paul George, Edgecombe, Grimes, and Mac. That's just like playing all your best players, right? Like Edgecombe, most of the impact metrics would show him as the second best freshman in college last year behind Cooper Flag. I think this is a guy who's ready to play and make an impact. I don't think it'll look like it did last night because he's just going to play a different role. But I think he's probably going to look even better in that different role and be
Yeah,
more
look, he's going to
efficient.
be option 5 in the starting 5.
Yeah,
He's going
and
to be the fifth
he's
option.
said time and time again that he'll buy into that. And so I don't think that's going to be a problem. I think that will be good for him, frankly, early on. So I think offensively that's a really great lineup. I understand some of the size concerns, and a lot of it will be writing on how well Joel Embiid can still play defense and how healthy he is, just broadly speaking. But offensively, if you get semi close to peak Joel with Paul George, Edgecombe, Grimes, and Maxey circling around him, all those guys can shoot. Most of those guys can get downhill and create their own look sometimes. Like, that's a pretty dynamic 5-player group. And frankly, you're just betting on Edgecombe being like a core piece moving forward. So as much as I like Justin Edwards, who is like a good, solid rotation guy for the next 10 years, hopefully, as much as I like Kelly Oubre, who plays his tail off and was like one of the few relative bright spots last year, I think you probably want to start Edgecombe because there's a good chance, A, he's just better than all these guys by a substantial margin, and B, if he's not, you want to get him there as quickly as possible, like you said. So
yeah, well, and here's the thing. Like, I think training camp and preseason will be a big determining factor of who plays and who doesn't. Because if one of these guys come in cold at the guard position, like, they're going to be sorted to the bottom. Though I don't suspect any of them will be coming in that cold.
I mean, we didn't really talk about McCain, but like, he was really good last year before the injury.
And look, I would love to see more McCain Maxey lineups, but you traded for Grimes, which was a great trade, and you drafted VJ Edgecombe. Now you have to have real talks. I mean, will there be times that maybe you can play Edgecombe at the 4 and you have a 4-guard lineup? Sure, but that's not going to be the regular here. I mean, even Indiana, like, I think OKC is the only team that played a 4-guard lineup, and even their guards are pretty darn big. I mean, Shea's 6'6", Jalen Williams 6'6", Alex Caruso 6'4", who was guarding centers at times. Lou Dort, so like maybe you got 2 good defenders in Grimes and Edgecombe, but like McCain and Maxey are like average at best. Like, that's not going to be really an option.
Maxey was a lot better last year, but McCain is still a ways away from being a good defender. Yeah, I agree. I think McCain will come off the bench. I still think he's going to get like 25 plus minutes a night. He's going to be a very prominent part of the rotation and probably very good. So,
well, there's a reason why they didn't bring back Gerald Butler. It's just because there was no need for him. Yeah. You have 4 guards that are pretty darn good.
And Kyle Lowry is going to be healthy. So,
is he officially back?
I don't know. I assume he's going to be back. I don't know why else Edgecombe would take 77.
That's such a nasty number.
I think it looks good, man. I'm all in. It looks good.
You know what I think? You know who I think of when I see 77? I think of Vladimir Radmanovic.
That's those fine.
That know he was a borderline starting small forward.
Well, Edgecombe is here to change that, Lucas. So now you're gonna think of VJ Edgecombe and Luka Doncic.
We will see.
It's gonna be one of the greatest numbers in NBA history. Okay?
I don't know, man. Look, and like, yeah, McCain. Like, at some point, if egos prevail, which it looks like Quentin Grimes' ego is probably going to prevail here, like, you're gonna have to trade one of these. Honestly, it might be in the Sixers' best interest. Like, I know that guard-centric lineups won the NBA title, but like, you might want to cash in that chip on Quentin Grimes and flip him for, I don't know. Let's see another power forward that's in the ether right now. Maybe I don't know. Maybe Jonathan Kuminga. I don't know. You might be able to flip him. Like, look, no, maybe not Jonathan Kuminga, but like
Kuminga is not good. Someone's gonna regret paying him. Whoever signs him will regret it deeply. Is my take.
Okay, but like some other power, you can flip him for a legitimate power forward, and then you have a 3-guard lineup still with Maxi McCain and Edgecombe, which seems lots more feasible to maintain. Versus, and then get a young power forward, whoever, flip him for Grimes. That's an option. I'm not reporting, obviously. I'm just saying
I think we're gonna see like a fair amount of the 3. Like again, they might just start a 3 quote unquote guard lineup. Edgecombe and Grimes are basically just smaller wings. They're both
they can guard
bigger than their size, especially VJ. Like VJ has a 6'8" wingspan and he's really strong and he can like jump to the moon. So
yeah,
I'm not too. I think you can play all.
He
four
also
a fair amount.
weighs less than 200 pounds.
Yeah, for now, but like he's built quite strong. So I'm not too worried about it right now. I agree that like maybe Grimes ends up as like a trade deadline guy that gets flipped for a forward. I could see that happening, but I think they can all play together a fair amount. Maybe not all at the same time, but like 3 at a time. You can probably get away with it.
Well, question: when does Grimes have to sign his contract in order to qualify for the trade deadline?
I do not. I could not tell you.
Because I know there's like a 6-month moratorium on free agents. I think it's like September.
Yeah. Well, I mean, obviously, if he takes the qualifying offer, he's getting traded. Especially if he, I don't know, maybe not definitely, but that like it definitely increases the odds of him getting traded this season.
Yeah.
If he signs a 4-year deal, then maybe that's a next season or a down the line thing. But yeah, his future is definitely the most interesting to kind of monitor because he was probably the best player of the group last year, but he's also like the least important long term. So it'll be interesting. All right, Lucas.
Well, he's only least important because he wasn't drafted by the team.
Yeah, he's like 2 years older, which is his cross to bear. Lucas, you ready to go around the NBA real quick?
Sure.
I'll let you go first.
I mean, look, there's not much to talk about. We said already, restricted free agency has basically paused everything. There are some veteran point guards still out there. Chris Paul, rumored either Bucks or Suns. It'd be interesting to reunite him with Devin Booker. I don't know. I don't know if that really works. The Suns are a mess. Chris Paul might be a better fit for the Bucks, but the rumor is that he wants to be closer to home. We'll see. Russell Westbrook also wants to be closer to home, but really the only team that makes sense for him in California is the Kings, which, like, look, chaos.
No.
With him, Sabonis, DeMar DeRozan. There's like no shooting there, and I'm all for like seeing a classic 90s team revamp.
This is the worst team ever.
What?
I don't want to watch that.
I would watch it just for the chaos.
Neat Clifford deserves better, okay?
Who?
Neat Clifford deserves better
Does
than
he? Does he? I don't know. I don't know. We'll see. It's an interesting Sacramento. No, like they have talent, but it just doesn't fit at all.
Yeah.
Like I don't know what to do with that team. And then you sign Dennis Schroeder to a 3-year deal. Like, what are we doing, Sacramento?
I think Schroeder's a good player,
but he's not a starter at this point.
He's not. He is in Sacramento.
Oh gosh.
Yeah.
Well, okay. If Westbrook doesn't go to Sacramento, where does he make sense? The answer is no.
Denver. Just resign in Denver. They
already have his replacement in Bruce.
They don't. Bruce Brown is a wing. You can play them both.
Do you want to play 2 non-shooters in the same lineup?
Bruce Brown is not a non-shooter. Russ just had like his best year in a while. Denver's going to be like a serious playoff team next year. It's best for everyone, I think, if he resigns.
I don't know, man. So, in other news, Jay Huff UVA product got traded to the Indiana Pacers because they panicked after losing, Miles Turner.
Well,
Wow,
I don't
that
know if it's panicked. They
I don't
just
know if it's
needed a
panic,
center.
but like who else? Isaiah Jackson still coming off the Achilles injury. They have
Yeah.
who else at center? Who's their backup? I can't even remember because they didn't play
Um,
him in the finals.
Jesus. I'm
Oh,
blanking
Tony
something.
Bradley
Yeah,
and
Tony
Thomas
Bradley.
Bryant. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, they're in trouble. They're in trouble. Well, you know what? They have
Uh,
their own pick. They traded for their own pick
well,
back.
I mean, I think Jay Huff is like a good, solid player.
He's not gonna be their starter. Thomas Bryant's been through too many injuries to be a starter at this point. And do you really want Tony
Um,
Bradley to be their starter?
I think Jay Huff might be their starter as the roster is set right now. Like,
That is crazy.
I mean, I know he didn't play a lot in Memphis because that's like a really deep team and the front court was kind of stacked. But I mean, he can hit threes and block shots and do like some like bargain bin Miles Turner stuff.
Mm,
I understand the vision. It was only a second round pick and a pick swap. It's not like they gave up
I
much.
guess. I don't know. Indiana's going to be interesting, that's for sure.
Yeah, I don't think they'll be that good next year with Tyrese out, but like
Do
I
you think that
understand the
do
vision.
you think they tank on purpose and try to get their pick? I mean, they have their pick.
They have their pick. Yeah, maybe if anyone gets hurt on top of Tyrese, then it's definitely probably
If
a mini
Pascal
thing different.
or Nemhard gets hurt, their season's cooked.
Yeah, pretty much.
Uh,
I'm interested to see how competitive they are if like with Nimhard and Pascal. Like that's not a terrible team with Rick
mm-hmm.
Carlisle as the coach, but
Well,
it's pretty fragile.
we were going to do an Eastern Conference rankings, but because Michael's not here, we're not going to do that. But hopefully
Yeah.
next episode.
We'll do that next episode next week at some
Let's
point.
talk about your favorite team now. Not named the
Thank you.
Sixers.
I've spent 30 minutes talking about the Sixers just so I could get to this point. No, that's a joke, guys. But OKC,
It's not a joke.
OKC Summer League team lost their first game to Memphis, but I would say it was a very encouraging performance from Nikola Topic and especially AJ Mitchell, who was like playing first quarter minutes in the finals a few weeks ago. Like AJ Mitchell is probably too good for Summer League. I don't know if he's going to be playing the whole time, but
I honestly thought his name was pronounced Ajay.
it's AJ.
No, I believe you. I read it and that's how I spelled it in my head.
That's
anyway.
fair. He was a minus 17, but 24 points, 6 assists. I don't think that means anything. Yeah, he was just on the court as they kind of lost at the end. Not really his fault, I think. Really good player, AJ Mitchell. Like, which is like a little complicated because you have obviously Shea, who is your go-to guard, who's going to play a lot of minutes. You have J-Dub and other guys who can kind of handle some of the workload. Caruso. You have AJ Mitchell, who I think is going to be like a rotation player in OKC next year. Then you have Topic, who was the 12th pick a year ago. I had him at 3 on my board. I thought he was like a genuinely awesome prospect.
Well, injury caused him to slip. He probably would have been picked in the top 3.
That's true. Torn ACL, fell to 12, didn't play at all last year. Had 14 points, 4 assists in 26 minutes, 6 of 11 from the field, 2-4 from 3. Did turn it over 7 times, but it's like Summer League and everything's a mess, so I'm not too worried about that. Looked like genuinely like good. It's what he did before all the injuries. Like he's just an incredible driver, mixes speeds, gets to the rim at will. The 3 looked pretty darn good coming out of his hand. It's one game, but I feel like Topic is like going to be a good player too. And they have all these good guards in OKC. They almost have too many good players. But
trade and condense. I mean that's what you can do.
They're going to be able to do that, or they're just going to keep restocking good players to the draft. Because like Thomas Sorber, I had him in the top 10. He's like a really, really impressive defensive center. He's going to probably earn some minutes next year.
Maybe. I mean, they got 3 really good centers ahead of them, and Hardenstein, Chet, and Jay.
I love Jay Will, but I think Sorber's going to clear him pretty quickly. Is my prediction. But Hardenstein's only around for a couple more years. I think Sorber's kind of the successor that they've set up. All right, Lucas, you ready to check out?
Yeah, let's check out.
As always, everyone, thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Sixer Sense podcast. Please like, subscribe, follow along if you can. We are on Spotify, Apple Play, and Google Play, Apple Podcast, Google Play, pardon me. And we're on YouTube, so subscribe, follow along, watch our videos, watch our shorts. They're super fun. And until next time, go Sixers. We'll talk to you soon. Peace and love.
Adios.